Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, the Senate passed historic legislation solidifying same-sex and interracial marriages. What's needed next to protect couples nationwide?
Plus, averting a looming rail strike, a crucial vote in Congress is just hours away.
And 'tis the season for holiday lights and holiday falls, what you can do to stay safe as you decorate your home for the season. We've fallen into this freeze and thaw cycle that makes it really icy out there.
Yeah.
And you still need to get yours up.
Light up, so I'm hoping for some melting to happen here in the next few days. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Nicole Brady.
And I'm Brian Sanders, and I think we might be in luck for that. Warming up later this week, here's Katie LaSalle.
Absolutely. Good morning, you guys. Nicole, it looks like Thursday we'll see 50s return, so a lot more melting. But this morning, it is cold and icy out there. 8 degrees only at DIA, and winds sustained from the west-southwest at 6 miles per hour, making wind chill values feel like we are at -2. So definitely be prepared for that blast of cold air this morning, and still some slick spots on snow-packed roadways, especially into the mountains, into your neighborhood streets, and some areas of patchy freezing fog up north. So we're dry, but it's also very cold. Single digits and below zero readings across the plains and into the high country. Winds right now relatively calm over the metro area, but still some gusty conditions up into the foothills and over higher terrain near Leadville. Wind chill values making it feel like it is 15 below zero in Greeley and -20 in Sterling, but we will warm up to around freezing later on this afternoon. Jason.
Yeah, we do have some very icy cold conditions out there this morning. I'm trying to get this camera working for you here, and it keeps going spinning around, so let's not use that. Let's not do that. We'll use the map instead, and it is foggy and icy up there on that north end for us right now. This is the drive on Pena Boulevard, which looks fine, but we do have a closure between Tower Road and Pena along 56. Unfortunately, a person was hit and killed by a driver out there this morning, and so you see the Denver police, they have it blocked off right now. So this is the southbound side of Tower Road trying to go to 56, and 56, some traffic is coming out of the neighborhood on that eastbound side, but it's going to be closed down for some time, so you can use either Green Valley Ranch or 40th to get around it. The rest of the drive doesn't look too bad for you here this morning, just heavy in some of those usual spots, but overall a lot drier obviously, and easier conditions than we saw at this point yesterday. But don't be surprised to see some ice and snow in your neighborhood.
Well, the suspect in an Amber Alert you probably got on your phone yesterday is now in custody, and the girl is safe. Westminster police say a man and his 13-year-old sister accepted a ride from a stranger to go shopping. When the brother went inside to use a restroom at a gas station, the suspect, who was identified as 45-year-old Bradford Eblin, took off with the 13-year-old girl still in the car. Westminster police again say the 13-year-old was safe. The man has not been charged yet.
An update to a story we broke yesterday morning on Denver 7. The man who barricaded himself inside a Boulder home is now facing assault and menacing charges. Our cameras were there as police took 56-year-old John Lee Fleming into custody. Boulder police say they rescued 2 people who were inside the home. They were able to escape through a window. Officers tell us Fleming refused officers' commands, and one officer fired a gun, although no one was hit.
A man who shot a Denver police officer in the neck is due in court today. Daniel Cheeseman is now facing 2 counts of attempted murder on top of fentanyl, car theft, and weapons charges. Cheeseman was in handcuffs when he was able to get a gun and shoot the officer outside the downtown jail Monday night. Another officer shot back. Both Cheeseman and the officer were taken to the hospital. The officer fortunately was not seriously injured and was released yesterday. Police have not said the name of the officer yet, but they say he's been with the force for at least 7 years.
Well, the U.S. Senate passed historic legislation solidifying the right to same-sex and interracial marriages into federal law.
Yeah, this is a huge deal for couples who were worried their rights could be eroded if the Supreme Court were to overturn landmark cases like it did with Roe v. Wade. Attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford joins us with new reaction to the landmark vote.
Yeah, and you'll remember just before Roe was officially overturned, I spoke with a same-sex couple that was concerned that eventually their right to marriage would be taken away. Well, since then, a lot has happened, including the Senate passing the Respect for Marriage Act. I took a look at that bill, and here's a breakdown of what's inside of it. The Respect for Marriage Act is about protecting the legality of same-sex and interracial marriages. It got support from Republicans and Democrats after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. which made some question whether same-sex marriage could be attacked next. The Respect for Marriage Act would come into play if SCOTUS overturned the case that legalized same-sex marriage. If that happened, same-sex marriage would be banned once again in states that had previously banned it. This bill would require states and the federal government to respect marriages conducted in places where it is legal. Plus, all states would have to recognize legally binding gay marriages even if same-sex marriage isn't legal in that particular state. The bill expands the definition of marriage under federal law from beyond man and woman to also being between spouses of the opposite sex. This bill is especially poignant here in Colorado as we continue to mourn the lives brutally cut short in the Club Q shooting. Senator Michael Bennet spoke out in favor of the Respect for Marriage Act.
As a nation, we will never flourish if we choose to depend on a permanent underclass deprived of some or all of the rights and freedoms others enjoy. Free people do not remain free by denying freedom to others.
And next, the bill is headed to the House. After that, it's expected to go up for a vote. And after that, it could be on the president's desk. And he says that if it does land there, that he will proudly sign it. Live from Denver, I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Thank you, Jessica. Governor Jared Polis visited Club Q in Colorado Springs to honor the 5 people killed in the shooting. He said as the community focuses on healing, they also need to focus on loving each other.
No matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter who you love, Colorado is a place for you. And Colorado, of course, will always have a place to remember the 5 victims.
Polis also answered questions about Colorado's red flag law, which is under the microscope after the suspected shooter evaded the protection order following their arrest last year on menacing and kidnapping charges. Turning to one of the heroes from the shooting, Rich Fierro, who's credited for helping stop the shooter.
He owns Otra Vida Brewery in Colorado Springs and says since the tragedy, business has been good. He and other breweries spent the weekend raising money for victims, families, and survivors. For Fierro, it's not about the bottom line. He said his brewery is about family and inclusion.
Bringing in anybody who wants to hang out and get a beer. You don't have to spend $1 in there. If you want to just sit and be amongst people, that's what it's all about.
Fierro's daughter's boyfriend was one of the 5 people killed, and he said he was like family. The race is on now to prevent a potentially crippling rail strike just ahead of Christmas.
Yeah, President Biden is inviting congressional leaders to the White House today. ABC's Alex Perche looks at their goal, whether or not Congress can force workers to accept the deal that was reached weeks ago.
This morning, a fight to keep the trains on track. Washington trying to avoid a potentially catastrophic shutdown of the nation's railroads. A shutdown would have a devastating impact on the economy, upsetting supply chains and creating shortages, driving up the cost of everything from gas to groceries.
I don't like going against the ability of unions to strike, but weighing the equities, we must avoid a strike. Jobs will be lost.
In a letter, Speaker Nancy Pelosi prepping the House for 2 votes today. The first to consider to adopt the tentative agreement which was negotiated by labor leaders and railroad companies. The second to add 7 days of paid sick leave for railroaders. Under the Constitution's Commerce Clause, Congress can intervene and prevent a strike. The White House optimistic.
Mr. President, are you confident you can avoid a rail strike?
Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
I think it will pass.
Republican Senate Leader Mitch McConnell.
I think some may be inclined to vote against it, and others are arguing that the economic price doing that is too great.
But the move is risky for the president, who has prided himself as a defender of unions. In September, President Biden helped negotiate a deal, but several unions walked away, insisting their concerns over scheduling and paid sick leave were not addressed. Now, eyes are on progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders, and if this second vote on sick leave aligns with what he wanted the Senate to take up.
0 paid sick leave. That is outrageous. And I think it's incumbent upon Congress to do everything that it can to protect these workers.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he's hoping for a quick passage of this. The deadline to avoid a potential railroad strike is next week. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
A major grocery merger that could impact Colorado. Kroger CEO says no stores will close if they combine with Albertsons. Kroger owns King Soopers here, Albertsons Safeway. And at a congressional hearing yesterday, the Kroger CEO said his company would not lay off any frontline associates if that deal goes through. That includes positions at stores, warehouses, and manufacturing plants. The company argues the merger would allow them to better serve customers as more people turn to places like Walmart, Amazon, and Costco for groceries.
We operate on razor-thin margins. This merger will give us the flexibility, national footprint, and digital capabilities to compete more effectively.
Some union workers did voice their opposition to the deal at the hearing. They say it would be bad for wages and stores would raise prices with less competition.
Well, 'tis the season for spam emails. I dug into what's behind all those messages about the water at Camp Lejeune that are flooding your inbox.
Also, take a look at this dramatic video of Mauna Loa's eruption. The area, Hawaii, is ready to guard if the lava gets too close.